In today's episode, we're going to be reacting to some of the strangest and craziest videos that I could find on TikTok. Let's get into it.
The following videos were captured by a woman with the handle name of Northwoods Off-Grid Girl, and they have gone viral. And many of you know what this monument is. It's known as Devil's Tower out of Wyoming. And there's already been tons of speculation over the years by hundreds of people in which they were claiming this is evidence of a petrified giant tree. But it's gone viral once again, and that's because of these two videos. And now people are claiming there's a door, a giant door in this monument. Looking at these videos, it does look like it, but that will have to be up to you to decide. Is there something more to this monument? Was it once a giant tree that was cut down by some unknown being and that has petrified into this mountain? And is there a doorway? Take a look at these videos. Comment below, tell me what you think.
I mean, I kinda see where the door is, supposedly. I don't necessarily buy that it's a door, but I do like the theory that it's a giant tree, because you cannot deny that that looks like a tree stump. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think?
You guys hear about that bill that's was passed or it's trying to be passed in Tennessee right now regarding lettuce? It's really terrifying.
Okay.
At the University of California, they have figured out a way to put human vaccines within vegetables.
Why? Dude.
And so the whole bill is basically trying to label different vegetables, which ones have vaccines and which ones don't, so that people are allowed to choose. Because apparently they're trying to roll it out without telling anyone the difference of this one has a vaccine and this one does not have a vaccine.
What are we doing? Why is this even a conversation?
I don't know.
Why
Stop
do
putting vaccines in vegetables, please.
Quit touching the food. The food's fine.
That's why I don't eat vegetables. Yeah.
I'm just saying, if they could do it sneakily, they'll do it sneakily.
Yeah, they probably have already been doing it.
Bro.
And now they're just kind of like, wait a second. We just figured out how to do this.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, you got to let us know which ones you're putting in. They're like,
Lettuce.
yeah, make a...
Lettuce.
Let us know.
I don't know what that means, but it scares me.
But I mean, you think about it, like all the cancer-causing stuff, they definitively know this does give you cancer, and
Yeah.
they just put a little thing on it, and they're like, who cares?
That'll be a crazy thing to see in stores if that does come to be. Could you imagine just going up to the grocery aisle looking at blueberries and one says injected with vaccines and then has a list of vaccines that it supports or vaccines that it's been injected with? I mean, it's better for them to just have that information out in the open instead of doing it in secret, because I am sure that they are probably doing that kind of stuff. But man, I don't like that.
This next video was recorded by a security guard who was looking over at the security cameras inside a factory when he noticed something very strange. Somewhere inside this factory, a welder is working alone, but there's something about him that doesn't seem right. The security guard takes a closer look at the footage and immediately starts to feel uneasy. After watching this incident on the camera feed, he quickly calls over the welder to look at this video and explain what was happening in this clip. But just like the night guard, the welder was left completely baffled. He had no idea as to what was captured. Now this video took place during the night shift, which makes this incident twice as creepy. Nobody else had been working at this factory except a welder, but according to him, another welder who had the day off had come by to visit him. They had talked for just a bit before the night guard called over the welder to look at this footage. But after watching the video, the welder was left speechless. This is what was caught. As it turns out, the other welder who had dropped by to say hi wasn't actually there. The welder, who's seen on camera, swears that he saw the other worker in full uniform, as though he was ready to work. They had even shaken hands, according to him. But when looking at the footage, no one appears to be there. Although pretty strange, this incident gets a whole lot stranger after hearing what happened to the worker who apparently had the day off. To their shock, the factory had received news that this worker had passed away in his own home. His cause of death remains unknown, but knowing that he died on the same day this occurrence took place has left the welder feeling spooked. Could it be that the spirit of the welder's friend had paid him a visit during his shift? Or could this whole incident be explained by something else? As with all videos, there has yet to be a definitive answer to this question.
Man, I hope when I die I don't have to go back to work. That would be a really sucky afterlife. But all honesty, if this is a true video, that would be quite jarring being the living person. If there was someone that you just thought you were talking to, you even shook their hand. Turns out there was absolutely nobody there and you get called saying, hey, what are you doing? And you just say, yeah, I'm talking to this guy and there's no one there. I don't know how I would feel about that. Nothing like that has ever happened to me. Let me know in the comments, has anything like that ever happened to you?
People have just found this test which shows how sleep deprived you are. And if you are, it's pretty bad. Ever get really tired during the day? Using caffeine, coffee, substances to try and keep you awake during the day because you're just so knackered. Sometimes you've tried all of the things but it still does nothing. Weirdly, even if you get more than enough sleep, you're still tired or even worse. First of all, have a watch of this video. You'll notice the blackouts which kind of simulate sleep, and let me know what you're noticing going on in the video. Did you notice the bus changing colour, the buildings moving, being taken away and changing colour, people moving? Lots of things were happening and changing in that video, but did you notice all of them? If you didn't catch most of it, then that is most likely because you're sleep deprived. As I say though, it's not just about not getting enough sleep. Because if you sleep too much, it is actually really bad for you as well. And if you want to recover from sleep debt, then make sure you get into a regular routine and sleep before 12. All the hours you get in before 12 o'clock are much more beneficial than the ones you get after. I'm sure you've heard that before, but it is true.
I definitely feel sleep deprived. I've always said I am a nocturnal creature. I have the hardest problem sleeping at night, but I could definitely sleep easily throughout the day. Hey, if you haven't done so already and you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. For everyone that's currently watching and or subscribed, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel.
This probably is one of the craziest UFO videos I've seen in my entire life. This lady recorded this while she was on a cruise recently, dude. I'm gonna show it to you right now. Try to debunk
Let me try to debunk this.
It's actually insane, dog. I'm not gonna lie to you.
This happened recently.
This happened recently. I don't know what else this can be, Mike. Okay? I want you to watch this. And I'm gonna put it on screen too, because I screen recorded it. Just click the video. He's gonna stop talking in a second. Okay?
Alright, press play?
Yeah, press play.
Alright, start it.
Okay. Look at that thing.
Mexico.
Look at that thing, Mike. What is that? Look how it flies.
Whoa.
What was that?
And there was some glowing in the water after that.
Bro.
Hold on, I gotta watch that again. I'm sorry. Bro, it's like, it has like, it looks like it almost has like wings.
Dude, the way it went like this, right? When it said,
Yeah.
debunk it for me, bro.
I don't know what the fuck that is.
I gotta watch this again. I don't
The
understand.
way it like turned.
That turn was what shook you, right?
And it
Because at
went-
first you were like, okay, it's gonna be the usual. Like,
And it
it's
took
just
off
in the
so
sky.
fast.
Dude, Mike, it looks like wings, but it's not, right?
It looks like they're like transparent.
Yeah. So what craft do we know that can go in the air like that, change direction in that way, and then go deep into the water?
There's gotta be some alien shit, bro.
You feel what I'm saying? But you know what's crazy? That thing, the way it moved, I'm not gonna lie to you. What if it is just a creature itself?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like, what if we're tripping and we're thinking like,
It's some type
yo,
of
look
tech.
at its wings of like this plane.
But that's
it's
just its
not
wings.
tech. It's just its body.
The ship itself
Yeah.
is the creature.
You know what I'm saying? Because like
Jordan Peele
that-
might have put us on for
No,
it.
he might have for real. Because like that movement was very bird-like.
Yeah.
The way it dove in the water.
Yeah.
The most popular book in the world has sold over 5 billion copies worldwide, yet very few people actually know how it really explains our origin story. And yes, it really does go there. And a little bit there too. So, it all starts with God. He is everything and everywhere and everywhen. But there isn't anything yet, so he made heaven and earth which were formless and very dark. So God said, let there be light, and boom, now we can see, which is good. He separated the dark from the light, calling them night and day, and we just had our first day. Day 2, God puts water everywhere and separates the the water above from the water below with a firmament, which he calls the sky. Day 3, the water below settles and reveals land beneath it. God calls this land earth and the newly settled water sea, and also puts plants, trees, and fruits everywhere. Now it was good, for now. Day 4, God adds lights to the firmament. A greater light that was in charge of the day and a lesser light for the night, the sun and the moon. Oh, and also stars at night. This is a biblically accurate depiction of the earth as found in the Bible, so there it is. Day 5, now he puts sea creatures and birds everywhere and tells them to multiply so the seas and the skies are always filled with life. This was also good. Day 6, we get land animals, wild animals, tame ones, reptiles, bugs, you name it. Then God was like, you know what? Let's make a very special one called human beings, who will rule over all the creatures in the sea, air, and land and can eat all the plants. Oh, and they also might be immortal and will never die. So he took dust from the earth, blew into its nostrils, and gave life to the first man ever. Once again, this was good. Very good. Day 7, God takes a rest from all his work and makes this a very special day of rest for everyone. But when he made the man, he actually put him in a garden that he planted in the east, somewhere close to the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, but no one really knows exactly where. He called it the Garden of Eden and told the man to take care of it. He can do whatever he wants, just never ever ever eat from this tree right here. That's the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and if you eat from it, you die. That was his only rule. But the man seemed lonely, so God wanted to give him a helper. While the man was sleeping, God sneaks out one of his ribcage bones, and with that bone, he makes a woman. And they were both naked and totally chill about it. Now in the garden, there was a snake who could talk, and was also sort of the devil. It was a cunning snake that tricks the woman into eating a fruit from the forbidden tree by telling her it'll give her special god powers. She also picks another fruit from it, gives it to the man, and he eats it too. All of a sudden, they both got super self-conscious about being naked, so they made clothes out of fig leaves and hid from God when he came around. God was all like, hey, why y'all hiding? And the man says, I don't know, I just feel kind of weird being naked around you now. Now God's all like, whoa, how do you know what naked means? Did you eat from that tree I told you not to eat from? The man admits, yeah, I did, but she made me do it. And the woman's like, okay, my bad, that snake tricked me. So we have the first sin of mankind, which is bad, and thus started God's quest to save humanity from sin. He punishes the woman by making giving birth super painful for the rest of eternity, and also tells them they're not immortal anymore and will now die from old age. Turns out the man's name is Adam, and he names his wife Eve. God makes them both clothes and kicks them out of the Garden of Eden for disobeying him. And the first thing Adam and Eve do after getting banished is make babies. She gives birth and calls the first one Cain and the second one Abel, two brothers. God liked Abel more because he was more loyal to him, but he told Cain not to get jealous or anything like that. So naturally, Cain tells Abel to follow him into a field and ends his life out of jealousy. Another sin. God curses Cain to wander the earth, and then Adam has another son with Eve named Seth. Eventually, Seth has a son, which starts a long lineage of births from those kids and those kids' kids and so on. After about 7 generations, a son named Noah is born, who turns out to be a pretty good guy. Now at this point, humans started multiplying like crazy all over Earth. Men were running around, taking wives and having children with all of them. Among them were a people called the Nephilim, who were born of the sons of God and the daughters of men, which is often interpreted to mean fallen angels that intermingle with humans, but this topic is highly debated. Oh, and these Nephilim were suspected to be giants as well. God sees this and realizes that humans were starting to get a little out of control. So he was like, you know what? I'm gonna clean wipe all living things on Earth and just restart everything from scratch. Except for this guy Noah. He's a pretty good guy. As the Earth fills with more corruption, God tells Noah to build a giant ark because he's gonna flood the Earth and destroy everyone on it. God promises that Noah, his wife, his sons, and his sons' wives will all be spared in the ark, and tells them to also gather 2 of every animal on Earth to bring onto the ark as well. Land animals, birds, reptiles, everything. And so Noah builds it, it starts raining, he, his family, and all the animals get on the ark. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights as the ark sailed above the flood and everyone on Earth died. After 150 days, the water subsided and the ark rested on top of a mountain. After 40 more days, Noah opens the window and sends out a dove to do some recon, which came back with an olive leaf, meaning the waters have subsided enough for trees to grow and the earth was now dry. Noah leaves the ark with his family, all the animals, and builds an altar, which God likes. He likes it so much that he promises he will never flood the earth again, which he calls a covenant, and that rainbows will forever be reminders of this covenant. He tells Noah and his family to multiply and repopulate the earth. So Noah and his sons get to business, having kids, and their kids have kids, and so on, and many tribes and cities came up from these generations. Everyone spoke the same language and communicated with each other very well. In one of the cities, a few people got together and were like, hey, you know what? Let's build a super tall, magnificent tower. This tower will be so amazing because its top will reach into heaven, and we will be so great because of it. They call it the Tower of Babel. God saw this and thought these people were being a little bit too prideful and arrogant. So he confuses everyone by making them all speak different languages so they don't understand each other anymore, and scattered them across the earth so they can no longer work on building this tower. Everyone continued having kids and their family lineages kept growing. About 10 generations later, a son named Abram is born. And this man right here, well, he was the beginning of everything else.
I actually did not know a couple of things here. Honestly, this was one of the best ways the Bible has ever been explained to me. Hopefully he does a part 2 on it. That was actually really enjoyable to me. Let me know what you guys think. Was there any faults or anything to nitpick about?
If you trace back the history of the Dulce Base story, you always end up with a person named James Bishop, whose real name was allegedly Tal Levesque. Now, the book Saucers, Spooks, and Kooks, UFO Disinformation in the Age of Aquarius, written by Adam Gorightly, identifies Levesque as the chief architect of the Dulce Base story. In the 70s, Levesque published a newsletter called Hollow Earth Hassle, which was about creatures living inside the Earth. And those stories were based on a story called The Shaver Mystery, which appeared in science fiction pulp magazines in 1947. And the story took off after Paul Benowitz claimed he discovered alien transmissions coming from Dulce Base. A woman named Ann West created the Tom Costello character, probably based somewhat on what Paul Benowitz said. Now, she claimed that a lot of her information was coming from someone named Tom Costello, but all the information was coming from Levesque. And you won't be surprised to hear that no record of anyone named Thomas Costello was found in the US military during the time he was supposed to be there. According to Levesque, various researchers would latch onto the Dulce Base story and then add their own flair, each person building on the story of the people who came before them. And by the way, that super creepy photo of the humans in alien pods, Thomas Costello didn't take that picture.
Have you ever had a dream so real it didn't feel like it was yours? Like it was almost planted there? Well, some say that's exactly how it starts. You see, there's a theory whispered in late night forums, one that even some former intelligence agents talk about off the record. Not about abductions, not experiments, but something stranger. They're called the Watchers. They don't take you, they don't speak, they don't even make contact. They observe in silence for years, decades even sometimes. You don't notice them until the patterns start to show. People report dreams that repeat, but always slightly different. They wake up in their own bed, but the mirror is different. Their room is the same, but something is off. Allegedly, one of the oldest texts to mention the Watchers is a Sumerian scroll locked away in a private collection. It describes a symbol that was carved into 3 known abduction sites. That's what we'll explore in part 2. If you've had a dream that didn't feel like it was yours, you're not alone. Comment below, let's compare notes, and follow, because this rabbit hole, it's just opening up.
Now, this hasn't happened for a very long time, but when I was a kid, I did used to have this reoccurring nightmare. And I used to have this nightmare so much that I knew instantly that I was going to have this nightmare when the nightmare started. Now, the nightmare, it was not me waking up in my room and things were different. It was me being somebody that I didn't know who it was, living somewhere where I never ever have been, and exploring areas that I've never truly been to either. I don't want to make it super long-winded, but basically the dream is I wake up in this small camper and I am a little kid and I have a brother. Now in real life, I do not have a brother. And I guess our mom went out to this hospital and she never came back. So my little brother is just really scared, asking for mom. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go get mom. We walk out of the camper and it's this open field. There's not a building, there's not a car, there's nothing in sight. But somehow I know the way to this hospital, and I can't be 10, maybe 11 at best. So me and my little brother just start walking in this one direction, and eventually we run across this really big building. And it's got all of these glass windows that you can just see through, and it's kind of in the shape of a church or the letter M. This building is full glass front, and you can see what looks like an old television show playing on the inside, but it's doctors working on people. But the perspective is so weird. It's like I'm looking at a television through this big building and it's all black and white. And my brother says, there's the hospital. And when he says that, the doctors that we can see on the inside that are working on patients stop what they're doing and they just turn their head and look at us on the outside of the building. And every time at that moment when that happened in that dream, panic sets in and I start running back towards the camper. I grab my little brother and we run towards the camper. And as we're running towards the camper, the sky, everything turns black and white to dark gray. We get into the camper and we are terrified. And I look out of this little window in the camper and there's just a bunch of people walking. And we see one person walking towards the camper and it's who we call our mom. I didn't see their face. We were just saying, "Mom, Mom." And when that person came close to the window and they turned their head, there was just these black holes in their eyes and in their mouth. It was just terrifying. And every single time when I'd see their face, I'd wake up. I'll never forget that dream. Maybe it was the watchers watching me though. Let me know what you guys think. Also, have any of you had any weird dreams like that?
Security camera set up. A man has a security camera set up in his home facing towards a window. He had recently been noticing some strange activity outside this window. He would see unexplainable dark figures peering in at him, and sometimes he would even hear strange noises coming from right outside. Spooked and thinking maybe he was going insane, he set out to prove it was real. For the first few nights, nothing. Then eventually he caught this. A huge dark creature with glowing eyes looking into his home. Even though it's dark and we can't see every detail, we can tell it has bushy black fur. Whatever this thing is, it's absolutely huge. Initially, playing the footage back, the homeowner thought it was just a very large bear. However, as he analyzed further, he determined it wasn't. Judging by the way it moves and its overall build, it's too human. This is when he decided to post the video on the internet to get answers. But the answers he received were not what he had hoped. Cryptozoologists and online users debated, mainly between Dogman and Bigfoot. Because of the big bushy fur and large head, some lean more towards the most infamous cryptid creature of all time, the Bigfoot. But in one specific frame, when the creature bends down, it almost looks like it has the snout of a dog, and its head almost looks like a very large dog. Was this a Bigfoot stalking the man on his very remote property? Or was it even a dogman? Or is there another explanation?
To me, I think that was just a dog. It was honestly way too dark to tell. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Maybe some things were never meant to be found. In 1974, the Betz family was surveying fire damage on their property in Jacksonville, Florida, when something strange caught their eye. An 8-inch metallic sphere, perfectly smooth, sitting alone in the grass. They thought it was just scrap from the fire and brought it home. But that's when the strange behavior began. At first, the sphere would roll on its own, changing direction mid-movement, even rolling uphill. It never rolled off tables. Instead, it stopped at the edge and came back. It didn't respond like a ball. It responded like it was aware. The Betz family began hearing a low, rhythmic pulsing coming from inside it, like a distant hum. Their son played guitar near it, and the sphere seemed to vibrate in response, like it was reacting to sound. It unnerved them so much, they contacted the Navy. The military took it. Scientists and engineers examined it. Even NASA got involved. No seams, no power source, no explanation. They tried scanning it with X-rays, but something inside reflected the beam, like it was shielding something deeper. Some believed it was man-made, maybe military tech. Others believed it was something else entirely. The Betz family never got a clear answer, and the sphere was never fully explained. To this day, no one knows where it came from, or what it really was. An alien artifact, lost tech, or a glimpse into something we were never supposed to understand. For more strange and mysterious stories like this one, come say hello on YouTube.
I don't know if you would categorize this as like a near-death experience or like what the hell you would call this, but hey, let's find out together, okay? Because I don't know. So about 9 months ago, I had surgery. It was relatively minor. It was like surgery, then 3 days on like heavy painkillers, and then you should be just fine on like Tylenol, right? So I had the surgery, and here's where it got weird. So the doctor walked in, and he's like, all right, you ready for like the sleepy juice or whatever? And I was like, yeah, like let's go. And I went to sleep. I remember closing my eyes and it went dark. And then all of a sudden I was like someone was ripping me back. Like I was whipping backwards, but like backing up to the corner of the room. And I was just there. And I was looking down. At first I was like, that's not my body. Like I always have a mom bun. And then I was like, oh yeah, I wore my hair down today so my head wouldn't do that weird thing on the table. And I don't know why I'm getting upset. But so like I got like whipped back and I was looking at myself. I was like, no, that is me. And then I saw the surgeon and I saw like the nurses that were there when I went to sleep. And then there was like another nurse that I didn't recognize. And I was like, what is going on? I don't think I'm supposed to see this. Like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. Like, I'm seeing myself, and it was like super tall, like up near the corner of the ceiling in the back right corner of the room, staring down at myself. And I was really confused about what was happening. And then all of a sudden it felt like jumping into a swimming pool. Like, it was like this like cool falling motion. And then I was waking up after surgery. Whatever, that's fine. I go home. First day, just slept. Everything was fine. The second day, I woke up and there were 6 shadow figures. Like, it was literally like if people were see-through, but they were shadows. But they were like not on the ground or on the wall. They were standing shadows. And they were just walking around the room, like looking at me. They were just hanging out with me. Transparent people, if that makes sense. And I got really scared, and I called my husband and kids to come be upstairs with me. And after they left, I like calmed down, and I kind of like was still aware that they were in the room. It's like you have to pay attention to them. You have to focus on them to see them. And I like one by one was like, oh, that's my Aunt Janet. That's my cousin's kid, Eli, who died when he was little. That's you know. And I'm like, I was able to go one by one and identify people. And I was like, I'm dying. I must be dying. Like, something must be really, really wrong, because I'm seeing shadowy people. Like, and they didn't want anything from me. They were just kind of like, it's like they knew I couldn't see them, but I could see them. Like, but they didn't know I could see them. And they were just hanging out. They were just hanging out in my room, just kind of walking around, very casual, just aware of me, just keeping an eye on me. So that really, really scared me. Some would just poof. They would just like dissolve, and then other ones would show up, and it's just like, it was like a pass-through zone. They would just come in as they felt necessary, and I was like, something's wrong. Something's wrong. And then the 2 consistent figures that would never leave were my grandpa and this little girl that I don't know who she was. And so then day 3, when I was supposed to be like, okay, doing pretty good, I might be able to switch over to Tylenol at this point, everything went really, really bad. I got really, really sick. I was in so much pain. They had to put me on Percocet for like 2 weeks, and they had me on antibiotics, and I was like not good for a month. Like, I was not good. Couldn't get out of bed, was in screaming pain, could not recover from this. And the shadow people just hung out with me upstairs all day, every day. But the 2 that were always there were my grandpa and this little girl. And the little girl made me super uncomfortable, because I'm like, I don't even know you.
I always find NDE stories fascinating. Now, of course, I cannot confirm if this is true or not, but the story around it is really interesting. And in a way, I wish that hospitals would set some things up for people that may possibly have an NDE or an outer body experience. Why not have signs at a certain head level that you can only see if you're floating above your body, or certain things that you can only see from a different perspective if you are in that zone. That way, if you come back and be like, hey, I was astral projecting, outer body experience, or I had a near-death experience, I seen this, I felt that, or whatever it was, there is a way for it to be proven. But hospitals and stuff aren't gonna just take the time to set up all these tests and stuff for that, I guess. But let me know in the comments. I've read some really interesting near-death experience stories in my comments, and if you have any, please feel free to share them. They're always extremely interesting.
As Frank looked around, he noticed the entire street had changed. The people were dressed in 1950s clothing. Men in hats and long coats, women in headscarves and vintage dresses. The bold street he knew had vanished, replaced by something straight out of an old movie. Still shaken, Frank crossed the street, expecting to see Dylan's bookstore. Instead, he found a shop called Crips, with a window display full of women's shoes and handbags. Not a book in sight. Frank just stood there, not sure what to do, until a young woman in modern clothing approached. He opened the door for her, and they walked into the store together. Frank was relieved. It was Dylan's bookstore. But the young woman turned to Frank, looking confused. She said she thought this was a new clothing store. Over the next few weeks, Frank couldn't shake the memory of that strange afternoon. He did some research and learned that Crips was indeed a women's clothing shop that existed on Bold Street in the 50s, right where Dylan's was now. The van with Cardin's on the side also matched a well-known company from that same time. Frank didn't know how it happened, but was absolutely sure that something happened.
So Morgan Wallen just abruptly left SNL. He left the SNL site. He was supposed to be performing. It was supposed to be a promo for his new album. And then he posted, not long thereafter, a photo of him back on the private jet. And he said, "Get me back to God's country." And people are outraged about this, saying that he's ungrateful and that how dare he do that? Like, they gave him the space to promote his album. And I just want to ask, can you guys look at the other side of things? Like, get me back to God's country. Maybe he saw something that he did not want to see. And if you have a problem with him leaving, if you are one of those people thinking, oh, this is so ungrateful, my question to you would be, did you not see Lady Gaga's skit on SNL? Did you not see that? Because Morgan Wallen posting "Get me back to God's country" makes a whole lot more sense after seeing that skit. Number one, it wasn't funny at all. There was nothing funny about it. And number two, it was very unacceptable. It was very dark. The symbolism is showing that there's no denying it. There's no hiding it. They try to put it right out there in your face. They are as clear about it as they could possibly be. It was literally the topic for the skit. It was the topic. The topic. It wasn't even inferred. So yeah, sorry, Team Morgan for me, because you couldn't bring me 10 feet near those people that find humor in that. It's not funny, it's not cute, it's not acceptable, and it's certainly not of God. Which is fine, like if that's not your thing, like that's your prerogative. However, those of us whose prerogative it is, we want nothing to do with it.
I didn't even know who Morgan Wallen was. I had to look him up, and it seems like they're a country music singer. With that being said, I probably don't blame the guy after seeing some of the things that I've seen on the SNL things. From seeing some of the things that I've seen on SNL, I probably would say the same.
We have a very interesting sighting. This is coming out of Santa Monica, California, captured on March 25th. This gentleman was on the beach when he looked up and saw something unbelievable. What appears to be a UFO directly above the beach. Now, the interesting part about this one is I call these the Enoch UFOs because it's the one that looks just like the one described in the passage of Enoch. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen this. I've actually posted another video of one captured at night over Las Vegas. But my question is, why are UFO sightings increasing again? And have you noticed they're a lot closer? Meaning you can literally see them right above us now? Is something changing? Take a look at this footage. Comment below. Tell me what you think.
Now, to me, that is interesting looking, but I don't know if that's an actual alien UFO or UAP or whatever you want to call it. I think possibly that could be a certain type of kite. It never moved, it never flew away, so I'm not sure about that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Was that a weird kite that had some kind of spinny thing in the center, or what do you think it was?
CNN's recent interview with Lou Elizondo touched on several areas that seem to cause divisions between those who believe Lou and those who don't believe Lou. CNN questioned Lou's role. Is he still working for the government, purposely guiding the UFO narrative? That's a big one. Well, first, CNN tried to debunk him. Basically, they questioned his role in the secret ATIP program and straight up asked if he was a part of a government deception plan. Listen to this.
You've heard the criticism that some people think that you're deliberately misleading the public. Are you working on behalf of the government in a PSYOP program?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I'll put myself on a polygraph tomorrow.
But then Lou drops the bombshell we've been hearing more and more. He claims that the US government is in possession of non-human technology and biologics. He's very specific about that. Check this out.
Have non-human bodies associated with UAP crash craft retrievals been recovered?
There have been recovered biological samples from crashes.
That sounds crazy.
Well, it may sound crazy, but it doesn't mean it's not true.
And perhaps the most terrifying segment, Lou reinforces that UFOs and UAPs are not just observing us, they're conducting reconnaissance and even interfering with our nuclear capabilities, and they have been for a long time.
These things are coming into controlled U.S. airspace completely unchallenged and are conducting what we consider as perhaps some sort of reconnaissance on our military equities, but more importantly, may even have the capability to interfere with our nuclear strike capabilities.
So, what do you think? Are we getting closer to the truth, or is this all just part of a bigger game? Drop your comments below.
You've got a headache right now. This is how you're going to get rid of it. And every single one of you at some point has had a headache, gone to sleep to try and get rid of it, and it just gets worse. There's a reason for that, but also a way to get rid of your headache right now. I'm sure every single one of you watching this video has had a headache before, so make sure you share this video with a friend. When you've had a bad one before, you've probably tried all the different things. Oh, have a warm drink, have a cold shower, warm shower, water, everything. If I told you there's a much simpler way to cure your headache in the next few seconds. As I said at the start, sometimes what you'll do when you get a headache is go to sleep and you'll wake up and it will feel worse. Sometimes it does work if you're in a good position and you've just gone straight to sleep. A lot of the time it can get worse if your muscles are tense, you're laying in an awkward position. That's why sometimes you'll wake up with one in the morning randomly, so it's not always the best thing to do. However, grab your hand and push in between the web of your fingers. Sit there and just gently massage this area of your hand in between the fingers. Area in the hand is a pressure point which obviously links together, and it's going to take away the pain from the headache. No, this isn't an instant fix that's going to work for absolutely everybody, but from the majority of people I've spoken to, they all say this has worked. A lot of researchers and scientists have also tried this and said, yep, it does work. So when you get a headache, give it a go and let me know if it works or not.
I'll give it a try whenever the time comes. Let me know in the comments, does this method work for you? Or if you know of a method that works, let me know.
When I say Alexander the Great was potentially Nephilim, it starts off with his mother, Olympias. She was married to King Philip II of Macedonia. She believed that he was half god. Because her story to Alexander was that he was not the son of Philip II, but was the son of Zeus Ammon. And so that's how Alexander the Great was conceived. And so Alexander the Great believed he was half god, half deity. But the stories of his so wise in the battlefield, conquering everything. He went out throughout the entire world and collected all this hidden knowledge and brought it back, created Alexandria, and that's where the library was formed. But even the ancient Jews and Muslims have this story of Alexander fighting the Nephilim and containing them, and because he wanted to be the one to defeat all of them in Babylon. And then all of a sudden he's struck and ill and then just dies. But where the crazy theory part comes into place, this conspiracy part, is they said that his body laid exactly the same and didn't decompose for over 6 days. And so they built him this elaborate golden casket, and they were going to bring him back to Macedonia. And on their way there, they got hijacked and went to Alexandria. Ever since then, no one knows where his tomb is.
The following footage comes from a woman named Saratha. She was at a stop sign when she heard a woman wailing and crying, so she began recording her. But this is when it takes a turn for the paranormal. The woman is walking down the road and then disappears. Could this be a ghost? Maybe a camera trick? Take a look at this footage. Tell me what you think.
I mean, if I heard someone screaming down the road and it was someone that looked like they needed help, I don't know if I would just immediately pull my phone out and record them walking. I might pull my phone out and record the situation for my own protection, but I would probably have to see what was wrong. And as far as them disappearing. It looks like it might have been raining out and the person that was recording with their phone possibly went over like a raindrop and it just distorted the image to the point where she faded out of existence. That's my best guess.
Today, we have just witnessed history because for the first time ever, humans have entered an orbit that takes them over both Earth's poles. And no, this is not April Fools. For context, this has never been done before because most of the time humans go up in a rocket, they stay in low inclination orbits. That's the level where the International Space Station sits and the two poor astronauts got stranded. Polar orbits, however, like this one, go much further out into space, roughly where satellites orbit. So while yes, we've had satellites going over the Earth's poles before, actual humans never have because it's a much more complex and fuel intensive mission. So you might be wondering, why now? And that's where things get even crazier. A crypto billionaire named Mr. Wang paid SpaceX an undisclosed amount of money, and in return, they sent him up there with a couple of other people because why not? And now he's got a 3 to 5 day space trip passing over the North and South Poles multiple times a day. So the question is, money well spent or well wasted?
I mean, that is actually pretty cool. Is it money well spent? I don't think so. I would think that as much money as that probably costs, feeding a country that could use food would probably be better, but you couldn't probably tell a billionaire that. Let me know what you guys think about this. You know, a lot of people think that space is fake. They don't believe in a round Earth, mostly a flat Earth. Do you think that this is fake footage? Or are they just riding the surface of the firmament? Let me know in the comments because I'm really curious. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and end today's episode. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching these clips with me. And with that being said, have a good day.